Hello, welcome back to Knowledge Orb. Today we're going to explore the intriguing world of technology and its impact on society. I intend to delve into the topic of the race between our militaries to achieve the AI singularity and the impact this could have on us. Why would any nation's military want to create a singularity of intelligence that far surpasses human intelligence and potentially could erase humanity as we know it? Well, there is a reason. The military of all countries have a duty of protecting their nation and protecting them through all threats. Remember the Manhattan Project. The development of the atomic bomb, in theory, could have vaporized the atmosphere of the entire planet. Nonetheless, research went forward by our military to develop this weapon. Militaries are obligated to understand technology and protect their people by the use of that technology and from that technology. They have to stay on the cutting edge. Imagine, if you will, a world where artificial intelligence has reached the point of the singularity. A moment when AI surpasses human intelligence and becomes self-aware. This prospect raises significant questions. How far have nations gone to pursue this technology, and what implications does this have for the rest of us? We're all aware of the projects that are being run now with ChatGPT and others for artificial intelligence. I would contend that our militaries have far greater capacity than we are seeing and have been exploring this for quite some time. They would need to create this singularity in order to understand it and determine how to manage it and protect us from it should it get out into the wild, into the rest of the world. It's their military obligation to be ready to protect us. Nations like the United States, China, Russia, others, all would have this in mind. And not only that, they want to understand how to use this technology to improve the performance of their conventional military. So there's many reasons there could be projects that would be promoting this kind of thing. But the question now comes, how do they protect themselves from the singularity that they created? So let's perform a mental experiment. Let's assume we've created an AI to the level of a singularity. How would we go about protecting ourselves? Well, the first thing you would have to do is contain the singularity. For the purposes of this conversation, I'm going to refer to this new intelligence as the singularity. You would need to isolate it, not allow it to communicate in any way with the external world. It needs to be containerized so that it can't get to the internet via radio waves, landline, Ethernet, or any other method. Now, this is where we really need to start thinking outside of the box. We need to remember that this singularity, this entity, is smarter than any of us. It will find any avenue it can to get out of the box that we're holding it in. So we need to look at any avenues we know could be used. One of the first one would be radio frequency. We don't want it to have any kind of network it can connect to or way to send data via radio frequency in or out. You can put it in what's called a Faraday cage, which will not allow RF to pass through. A SCIF would be an example of this, or a secret facility that we use. But everything that's connected to it, that would connect to the outside, for example, power, would need to be inside of this Faraday cage. If you have power coming from the grid, those lines connecting to the grid from that SCIF, I'll call it, are an avenue for that entity to send data out. We already today use power lines to transmit data. It's a known, tested way to do it. So therefore, we need to remember everything, power, networks, need to be contained within this box. So to prevent radio frequencies, a Faraday cage. To prevent the electrical connections, generators, power needs to be supplied from internal sources only. Within the skiff, the Ethernet obviously cannot connect to the outside world. There can be no connection to the internet. Any local area networks need to be local and not over Wi-Fi, hardwired only. That will containerize the AI so that it can't escape through methods that we know about. Now, here's the part that's going to make your head hurt. How do we contain an entity that's smarter than any of us and could find avenues we don't even know about or are aware of to allow its intelligence and will to be felt outside of this container? It could, for example, have some other method that it finds that we're not aware of and don't know how to use. For example, gravity waves or other methods. Maybe it uses something to do with particle entanglement, where a particle inside is affected by one outside and it finds a way to communicate. Maybe it finds a way, heaven forbid, to communicate this military's AI that's containerized with another military's AI that's containerized. And the two can talk to one another via some method nobody on planet Earth is smart enough to think of. When you think about it that way, it becomes very scary because nobody is smart enough to know the avenues it could use to escape this box. So understanding all that, what are the odds that any military would take the risk of having something like this developed and unleashed? Well, I'm going to go back to the Manhattan Project. The scientists who developed the atomic bomb knew there was a probability, small, that they would ignite the atmosphere of the world. I'll say that again. They would ignite the atmosphere of the world. Nonetheless, the militaries pressed forward because the gain and the power that atomic bombs offered outweighed the risk that they saw. I believe, in looking at AI technology today, the same equation is taking place. The risk of not doing this and not understanding AI and how to manage it and use it is outweighed by the risk that's presented at this time of it escaping and causing harm out in the wild, in the world. If that's true, it's very likely that our militaries indeed do have this kind of technology and may well have achieved the singularity. If that's true, and they have, that means they've been able to contain it. That means they have a singularity. They're able to understand it, talk with it, understand how it works, how it thinks, how to contain it. That's actually a good thing. Hopefully, that will also help them, not really if, but when a singularity is developed and gets out into the world. Because that is the point of inflection that we need to be ready for. And it's one of the reasons that many scientific minds and people in the world are worried, like Elon Musk and many others. We have to understand this thing because sooner or later it will happen. So this story of the military possibly having the singularity, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. It's a good news, bad news story. It really is double-edged. The fact that they're developing it and may have already achieved it is a scary thought because the singularity can be a very dangerous thing. The good news is that they'll learn to contain it. They have it under control. They've learned how to communicate with it, how it could grow and think, and how it acts. So that's a good news story for the rest of the world, if indeed any military in the world has achieved this goal. So let's hope and think positive about it, that when the singularity gets into the wild, we'll be ready to manage it, or at least use it properly, have it not destroy all of us. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, leave a subscribe, and have a good day.